Look, we need to have a serious reality check today. We're talking about waste compliance for businesses operating in the Philippines right now, and frankly, we are addressing a massive operational blind spot that could completely derail your company. This explainer is your wake-up call, and we're going to jump straight into the facts you absolutely need to know to protect your operations. 2001. Yeah, you heard that right, 2001. It's kind of wild to think about, but the foundational solid waste law we're unpacking today has been in full effect since 2001. That is well over 2 decades ago. An entire generation of businesses has started, grown, and scaled since this legislation hit the books. And yet, despite the passing of all that time, the startling reality we have to confront today is that most Philippine companies are still not fully compliant with it. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. What exactly is this law? It's RA 9003, otherwise known as the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. And listen, this isn't just some obscure environmental guideline buried in a dusty manual somewhere, or a gentle recommendation from a local council. This is the absolute foundational law governing how the entire Philippines manages its solid waste. And the most vital thing you need to grasp right off the bat, it legally applies directly to your business operations. There are 0 exemptions just because you run an air-conditioned office instead of a manufacturing plant.
You know how sustainability is usually pitched as a best practice? Like, it's a nice to have for your corporate social responsibility report or a positive marketing campaign. Well, RA 9003 treats waste entirely differently. The solid waste rules we are about to cover are not optional suggestions. They're not merely best practices. They are absolute, binding legal mandates that your business is required to follow. Ignoring them isn't just a missed opportunity for good PR. It's a direct, literal violation of Philippine law.
So, let's break this down into 4 non-negotiable waste rules. Rule number 1, segregation at source. This means every business is required by law to divide its waste into specific categories: biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and residual. And the key phrase to remember here is at source. You're legally obligated to separate these materials right where the waste is generated, the exact second it's thrown away. Whether that's on the factory floor, in the employee break room, or right at your desk, the segregation has to happen immediately. You can't just mix it all in one giant bin and expect some magical sorting fairy to figure it out at the back of the facility later. Moving right along to Rule 2, let's see how this builds on our first point. If your business generates a significant amount of organic waste, you can't just toss it in the bin and wash your hands of it. You are legally required to compost it or actively divert that waste away from the general waste stream. You've got to ensure that biodegradable materials are being handled properly, returning to the earth rather than just rotting away in a mixed landfill and pumping out harmful greenhouse gases. Now, Rule 3 dictates what you absolutely cannot do: no open burning and absolutely no open dumps. Burning your waste, and yes, that explicitly includes burning plastic and paper in your back lot, a practice that's unfortunately still way too common, is strictly illegal under RA 9003. Furthermore, your waste cannot be disposed of in an open dump site. The law mandates that it must be sent to a proper, regulated sanitary landfill. No exceptions. Period. And finally, we have Rule 4. Know and use your MRF. MRF stands for Material Recovery Facility. Under the law, every single barangay is required to have one of these facilities to handle sorting and recycling. It's your business's direct responsibility to know exactly where your local MRF is located and how to properly utilize it for your recoverable waste. It's like a giant puzzle, and you have to be deeply proactive in coordinating with your local facility to make sure your recyclables are actually being recovered. Which brings us to the uncomfortable compliance truth. I want you to ask yourself honestly, right now, it's the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the DNR, or your local government unit walked through your front doors today for a surprise inspection, would you pass? Imagine they walked straight past your reception desk, checked your bins, scrutinized your segregation practices, and demanded documentation for your disposal methods right this very second. How would your business actually fare? The brutal reality drawn from our sources is that most companies would flat out fail. And you know exactly why most fail? It's not because they're inherently bad companies or because they're actively trying to destroy the environment. It happens because solid waste compliance is often mistakenly treated as someone else's problem. Maybe management thinks it's the janitor's problem or the building admin's problem, or perhaps they assume paying a third-party garbage collector just makes the whole thing go away. But under RA 9003, the generator of the waste is accountable. It is definitively, legally, your problem. And because it's your problem, the consequences of ignoring it fall entirely on your shoulders. We aren't just talking about a polite warning letter or a slap on the wrist here. The tangible liabilities of noncompliance are severe. Heavy financial fines, the very real threat of forced operational shutdowns from the local government, and massive reputational damage that could absolutely ruin client trust and investor relations. Those heavy burdens belong to your business alone if you don't comply.
So, to bring this explainer full circle, RA 9003 is not new. It is not coming soon. It has been the law for over 20 years. We are completely eliminating any excuse of ignorance right here and now. You cannot look regulators or inspectors in the eye and claim you simply didn't know, or that your business just needs a little more time to prepare for a law that's existed for more than 2 decades. The grace period expired a very, very long time ago.
So, the million-dollar question remains. Is your company compliant? Really think deeply about your operations as they exist today. Don't brush this off, and definitely don't just assume your ops team has it perfectly handled without actually verifying it yourself. Take this moment to immediately assess your own operational liabilities. Because the clock isn't ticking down to when this law takes effect, it has already been ticking for over 20 years.
Look, if that question makes you even a little bit nervous, absolutely take action today. Follow Sustain PH Studio for daily sustainability tips made specifically for Philippine businesses. They provide the ongoing, actionable guidance you need to get your operations fully in line with the law and keep them there for the long haul. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go take a hard look at your waste management practices and let's get compliant. Catch you next time.